Hello and welcome to the first video here talking about how to locate the traces of a plane when given a laminar section. So there are actually three different methods common methods that we use when it comes to finding the traces of a plane. In some questions you'll be given the traces of the plane and you'll be using that to maybe cut an object or to find the true shape of something. But in this particular case here we're going to be given what's known as a laminar section. So a laminar section is simply just a shape drawn on the larger plane. So the larger plane, as you can see here, is basically the plane itself. And here we have a triangular section of that. So that's our lamina like that. And the shape of that laminar section can be absolutely any shape at all. It really doesn't matter as long as it is a smaller part of the larger plane. So it must be on the plane itself. So what we're going to do at the moment is going to look at the simplest of all the methods for finding the actual VTH, so the vertical trace here, and the horizontal trace for the overall lamina. So this method here, we call it method 1, is just simply extending the existing lines on our lamina section here until it meets the horizontal plane, which is the ground, which is where our horizontal trace is located, and onto the vertical plane here, which is where our vertical trace is located here like that. With the vertical trace being the interaction between our plane and the vertical plane here, and the horizontal trace being the interaction between the horizontal plane and our overall plane. So method 1 basically operates by just simply extending any of the edges on the lamina until it meets our primary planes of reference. So in this case here, we're extending him down until it meets the horizontal plane to give us a point on the horizontal trace. So the horizontal plane is the ground plane, and we see the horizontal plane on the XY line in our elevation. So really, I'm just going to take my line C and B here, and I'm going to extend him down until he hits the ground, like that. So that's our point where the extension hits the ground in elevation, so we can project that down into our plan view, and then if we have extended it in elevation, we can extend the line CB into our plan, and now we know the point that's on our horizontal trace. So that's our 1 point on our horizontal trace. Naturally enough, we need more than 1 point, so we're just going to extend one of the other lines on our lamina. So in this case here, I'm going to extend this edge here. That's the edge C and A. So like before, we're going to find the horizontal trace first, so we're going to work from our elevation. So C and A is extended on. There it is on where it hits the ground. If we extend it in elevation, we'll extend it in plan. How far do we go? Well, there's our point located along this line here. There's our extension there. So now we have 2 points on our horizontal trace. So we can just simply join up those 2 points, and that gives us the HT, the horizontal trace in our plan view. So there's our horizontal trace. I've just taken the liberty here of just drawing in the kind of the plane itself. And we don't normally draw in this line or shade it in, but in this case here, it's kind of just, it helps clarify what we're actually after finding. So there's our horizontal trace like that. Just so you know, the horizontal trace in our elevation is located on the XY line. If we were to look in from the front, this green line here would be on the ground. So that's the plan view of our horizontal trace. That's the elevation of our horizontal trace. Um, okay, so now we'll find the vertical trace. So the vertical trace is found in exactly the same way. The key difference being that instead of extending our line onto the horizontal plane, i.e. the ground, we're going to extend our lines on to the vertical plane, i.e. the back wall. So like before, we can take any of our lines. I'm going to just take this one here, and you can see extended onto by extending it onto the back wall, onto my vertical plane, where it hits the back wall will be a point on our vertical trace. So we can pick any of our lines here. So I'm just going to pick the line again, B and C. And this time I'm working from my plan view, because in the plan view, the XY line represents the back wall. Depending on the view, the elevation, it represents the ground. In the plan, it represents the back wall, or vertical plane. So where it hits the back wall, that's our point on our vertical trace. We can project that up, and then like we did before, we'd extend B and C until it hits that line there like that, and that must be a point on our vertical trace. Now we already have a point, a second point on our vertical trace, this point here, which we have found already, so we can just extend the two there, and that gives us our vertical trace there like so. And there's our plane like that. And just to show you that it doesn't matter which of the edges that we can do, we can just take one of the other ones here, like this as well. You mean we could extend him on, it would be the exact same process. That would be the line B and A. So there's B and A extended to the back wall, bringing it up, and there's our line there like so. So that's still going to give you the same point. The only issue that you might run into would be if you had a line parallel with the XY lines, then it'll never, you won't be able to extend it onto the XY line. But one thing to note about that is that if a line is parallel to the XY line, the actual slope of it would be the parallel to the trace line itself. But that's something we'll actually come across later on. So that's our method one for finding the vertical and horizontal trace when you're given a section of a plane, or a lamina as it's known. So yeah, that's our video. Hopefully that's of help to you. There is another video then on method 2 and method 3. Depending on the information that you're given in the question, you may have to use a different method. So that's the reason why we should go through our 3 different methods.